A little while back, SCP Explained put out a video about SCP-682 stuck in the backrooms. What if it can be contained in the backrooms was the whole thing. Well, apparently 682 has been slaughtering everybody or everything in the backrooms, and this is a follow-up or a continuation. I've had quite a few requests for this, so I'm going to react to it today. Guys, make sure to subscribe to SCP Explained. Subscribe to me and like the video if you like the reaction. Let's get into this one.
A beloved, mentally unstable masked vigilante once said, "I'm not trapped in here with you." A beloved, mentally unstable masked vigilante once said, "I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me." And this exact sentiment was shared by SCP-682,
Makes sense.
the hard-to-destroy reptile, as it traversed the almost limitless liminal hell known as the Backrooms.
The Backrooms.
It'd been little more than a standard chase and secure mission for the mobile task forces pursuing SCP-682 after its latest deadly containment breach, until the vicious lizard made its way into an abandoned warehouse
and glitched.
And no-clipped its way into a new reality. As the SCP Foundation are still desperately searching for the missing beast back in our native reality, 682 has been discovering whole new vistas of violence. First, it found itself in the endless yellow halls of Level 0.
Right.
If the madness doesn't get you, the starvation and thirst will.
But that won't get
unless
him.
You're an anomalous reptilian abomination that can seemingly adapt to any situation. Once 682 escaped this gaudy purgatory, it found its way into Level 1, an endless
you have to
warehouse
no-clip
full
into
of equal
as
parts
well,
monsters and hapless human settlers, all of whom it decimated in a single bloody afternoon.
Gosh.
Then on to Level 2, the Pipe Rooms, where it faced a bevy of beasts that it eagerly put into the ground. And that brings us up to now, and by extension, on to Level 3.
Which is?
SCP-682 spilled out into another section.
I'm not too familiar with the
long
rooms,
industrial
the levels yet.
hallways. It didn't know how it had gotten in,
industrial
and honestly,
hallways.
it didn't really care at this point. All it needed to do was keep moving forward and killing as it pleased, and it seemed there were plenty of creatures down here to kill. That being said, this level had a certain energy to it. And
I've been watching Game of Thrones recently. I'd never watched a series before, my wife did or whatever. And a lot of these guys talk about like how they love killing and stuff. You know, I know it's got to be adrenaline filled and stuff like that. I don't understand it, guys. I really don't. I don't understand bloodlust. I guess because I'm just a nice guy or whatever. But it must be really, really hard to keep back these compelling urges if because it's such a strong emotion, you know, this anger, rage. Oh, it's crazy.
And we mean that literally. 682's incredibly sensitive, well, senses allowed it to detect an incredibly powerful electrical field emanating from this level, and from the sounds of machines humming all around it, traveling down great bundles of wires and pipes bound to the walls. It knew that this level must have been attached to a generator of truly incredible size.
Something that powers the back
the different
rooms.
hallways at freakish speeds, searching for the next thing it could blast into oblivion. And thankfully, it was able to find its first target soon enough. A nest of creatures known as death moths.
I did
fluttering moths
a reaction
of
to
freakish
these
size congregating around a glowing electrical outlet. Intriguing. SCP-682 decided to approach and introduce itself. After all, they looked like pretty easy
The
prey.
big ones are strong.
682 would regret this oversight.
Yeah.
While the male death moths are pretty much harmless, the female death moths have an extremely potent defense mechanism.
Right.
As SCP-682 approached, the creatures began swarming and spraying acid onto its reptilian flesh.
And acid
This
is
was
not really
painful
good.
and irritating for 682, of course.
For
But if
682.
any entity on Earth is pretty accustomed to dealing with large quantities of powerful acid by now,
It's true.
it's SCP-682.
It's true.
Its skin quickly healed from the acidic onslaught, and it developed
just a
powerful
splash.
counter-adaption. A long, sticky, frog-like tongue,
Oh!
which it used to devour the nest full of death moths and move along to its next target. It continued exploring
I love
level
it.
3. A number of hallways were marked off
lick
with
it
metal
up.
bars, another very familiar
Now
sight
death moth
for
tastes.
SCP-682, so for simplicity's sake, it just kept itself to the unobstructed paths.
Right.
That's where it soon ran into another life form, standing
Which?
around like a sitting duck in one of the level's many anomalous hallways. It was
Was this-
just another human, in a similar outfit to all those major Explorer Group weaklings it had destroyed earlier. Strangely, even when SCP-682 entered the hallway with it,
Something's
it
up
didn't
with
seem
it.
to react properly.
Its
It just
eyes.
vacantly stared off into space.
Is that
stumbling
faceless?
around
The
awkwardly.
faceless, isn't it?
682, bemused, whipped this random disoriented
short about
stranger
this,
in
too.
the chest with its tail, sending him sailing into the nearby wall.
I've done a bunch of
It was
shorts
at
on the
this
channel,
point that
guys.
something strange
If y'all didn't know,
happened.
should check that
The
section
force of
out.
the strike caused the man's clothes and also skin to disintegrate, leaving something entirely different underneath.
Which is?
SCP-682 had no idea what was going on, but it knew that it hated it. This was its first encounter
hates
with a
everything,
creature
though.
known as a skin stealer.
Oh,
It would be
a
natural for
skin
human
stealer.
being
I
to
thought
be
it was
terrified
faceless.
of an abomination like this. An apex predator like 682, on the other hand, it barely even found the skin stealer interesting. With a single stomp from its clawed reptilian foot,
Just
the
destroyed
creature
it.
was very, very dead. And SCP-682 continued its journey through the bowels of Level 3. It found itself drawn
There's some
to
freaky
whatever
stuff
the
in the
source of all
Backrooms,
the
man.
energy was, if it even had one single source. It was almost as though the entire level was one gigantic predator powering the rest of the Backrooms. And if there was electricity, perhaps there were other humans in here to kill. SCP-682 liked that idea very much indeed. However, while making its way down a slightly wider hallway, one that it had previously believed was completely uninhabited, it was suddenly ambushed by a group of mysterious attackers. A number of tall, gray creatures with long, clawing arms and unclear facial features stepped away from the wall. These entities are known as the
Dullers?
ambush predators native to the Backrooms. They normally run
familiar
away
with
from
those.
threats, but considering the number of them congregated in the hall around SCP-682, perhaps they felt a little more confident about taking down their prey.
That's a
in group.
mistake.
But they'd made a grave
thing is strong.
miscalculation. It would not matter whether there was $1 or $1,000. In the battle between
Gosh,
them and
man.
SCP-682,
It's true. He's so
they
strong,
would
man.
always be the prey. But lucky for them, while they weren't aware of this immutable fact yet, SCP-682 was more than happy to give them a first-hand education.
Here's a
While the Dullers
tutorial.
tried their best to
How I
claw
could
into
destroy you.
SCP-682's thick, leathery hide, the creature decided to employ a new ability it had stolen from the female death moths. Several new glands developed all over 682's body, each of which produced a fine mist of highly concentrated acid. Soon enough, the Dullers were howling in pain and melting away.
Can you
into
imagine
dull
being
gray
able
puddles
to
on the ground,
evolve
never
like
to
that, guys?
reconstitute again. That's
So
what you get for trying
crazy.
to climb up the food chain, folks. It never ends well. Unless you're 682, that is. After disposing of the Dullers, which in 682's own humble opinion had more than earned that title by
Oh
indeed
god.
being extremely
Dull?
it decided to continue its search for some of the power sources on this level. Perhaps it could harness this ability for its own benefit, but it was interrupted by what is, frankly, one of the grossest enemies in all of the Backrooms.
What is that?
The Bursters. And if
Oh,
even hearing
God.
the name makes you feel a little sick,
It
then you're
does?
correctly primed for what you're about to
Is it
encounter.
like a...
They're humanoid creatures that
Hold up.
walk around on all fours, with its back legs grotesquely stretched out into the shape
It
of a
looks
dog's
like
hind legs. But
it
that's
has
nothing
some-
compared to the Bursters'
Oh
truly
no!
diabolical
Is that
back
pus?
end. All over the creature's back, you can see huge calloused cysts that contain
Oh!
potent and noxious acid.
Oh!
Sure, the acid is only about as
Cysts?
dangerous as the stuff produced by female death moths. But in our humble opinion, the method of acid delivery is far more repulsive.
Oh,
and
gosh.
makes Bursters less desirable. to
That is
encounter.
nasty.
A
Can you
small group
imagine
of
a
them skittered out
cyst
of the
busted
darkness
on you?
towards
Or a bunch of them?
SCP-682. The About
Ugh.
the Destroy Reptile also found them disgusting. Though, now that we think about it, SCP-682 thinks all forms of life are disgusting.
Right.
So we suppose that it's all relative. However, when they began to burst their
That
backs
is
and coat
nasty.
682 in their horrible pus, they perhaps earned the rarely given label of extra disgusting from this living embodiment of reptilian hate. 682
Oh,
quickly
man.
clawing the horrid creatures
That
to
is
death,
so
which
gross,
I think we can all
bro.
agree is a good and well-deserving ending for the vile little
Seriously.
beasts.
Can you imagine
We
the
would have done
smell?
The same thing. The
Ugh.
next enemies that 682 encountered weren't
Bunch of
nightmarish
cis
creatures, but in
juice.
fact were human beings stationed in the major Explorer Group's base Gamma. the third most
Alright.
important base in all of the Backrooms. They were on high alert after losing contact with Base Alpha several days before, having no idea that everyone at that base had been slaughtered by SCP-682, a fate that, if they weren't tremendously lucky, they would soon share. But they had little more than luck on their side this time.
What is
SCP-682 sighted the base on the end of a long hallway.
Right.
There was even a person standing at the other end of the hall, seemingly blissfully aware of the approaching presence of one of the SCP Foundation's most dangerous and formidable captives.
So he knew?
682 loved killing humans most of all. They weren't just dumb animals. They had the intellectual capacity to actually appreciate the life that was being ripped away from them.
Oh gosh.
And it made the whole act even more pleasurable.
He's so
for
evil, dude.
SCP-682.
Evil.
It set its sights on the ignorant Major Explorer Group member leaning against the distant wall and decided to charge for him. Claws extended and fangs bared, this would be such easy prey. Until the
So
moment
what's he gonna
when
do?
someone in the distance yelled, "Now!" and the seemingly
Sprung the
defenseless
trap!
human turned around and pulled a lever on the wall. Suddenly, the whole hallway was electrified, sending millions of volts coursing through
He's gonna evolve to that,
682's
though.
writhing body. This whole thing had been an elaborate trap. The humans at Base Gamma hadn't survived this long in the Backrooms by being stupid. The more technically savvy members had rewired some of the hallways to channel the immense energy of the generators and fry any unfortunate entities that tried to use these hallways to break into Base Gamma. There was
Interesting.
one big problem, though. SCP-682 wasn't just any unfortunate entity.
Right, he's gonna
While it
just
did
adapt.
initially look like electricity might fry the beast, it gradually began channeling the electricity into its own body and developing the capacity to re-gift this electricity to the people
Oh,
who
God.
so kindly
Force
provided
lightning.
it. SCP-682, now a crackling conduit of electricity, leaped from the shocking hallway and into Base Gamma. Soon enough, it had fatally electrocuted all 300 members of the Major Explorer Group posted in Base Gamma.
Shoulda
and
known.
returned to its baseline state. Level 3 had
Making him
grown
turn to
tiresome
ash.
now. It seemed that there were no more exciting new creatures to massacre.
But there's so many
As a
more
result,
levels, though.
682 slid into a nearby elevator and went down, where a new level awaited. This was how SCP-682 got to level 4. And level 4 was not what the hard-to-destroy reptile expected. In contrast to the industrial nightmare of the previous few levels, level 4 was like a limitless office block, with all the furniture ripped out. While for some this
Weird.
might represent the crushing existential banality of office life, how the wheels of capitalism inevitably work us all to death, SCP-682 had never worked in an office before.
Right.
So it didn't really have the
Naturally.
proper cultural reference points to appreciate this more abstract kind of fear. It wanted monsters to kill.
Right.
682 spent approximately 6 days searching around the hellscape that is level 4, not discovering a single person or entity while it was there.
So just go
It
to
was
next
honestly
level?
the most stress that SCP-682 had felt since coming here. The beast was
Why don't you just
almost
go back
tempted
to
to
the
unscrew a
elevator?
light bulb from above, draw a little face on it, begin referring to it as Wilson,
Oh
and then
god.
682
Like,
felt the closest emotion it could manage to immense
Wilson.
gratitude when it sighted
It's
the
a reference
glowing
to that
green of a
ball.
distant
I
exit
forget
sign at the end
where
of
it
a
is,
long
though.
hallway.
What movie was
Finally, a
that?
way out onto another
The Goonies?
level.
I don't know. I
Hopefully,
don't
this
remember.
one would have more creatures to slaughter. Welcome, SCP-682 to Level 5. SCP-682 didn't really know what to expect from the next level of the Backrooms. After all, it all seemed pretty random so far.
Right.
But it definitely didn't expect to see a classy, well-appointed hotel on the other end of the hallway.
A hotel?
SCP-682 had never seen the Stanley Kubrick masterpiece The Shining, nor read the book it was based on by master of horror Stephen King.
So this
But if it
level
had,
is
it would
about
probably
The Shining?
have drawn the comparison. Instead, it was already busy tearing through the ornate halls, looking for new prey to slaughter. The first unexpected encounter was with a small cat that casually wandered out into the hallway right in front of it. The cat, who didn't seem threatened by SCP-682,
An
said,
anomalous cat?
"Hi, I'm Samantha. You got any meat you can lend me? I'll tell you your fortune if you do."
What?
SCP-682 was, frankly, baffled. It took a moment to formulate a reply.
Is he gonna eat it?
You worthless creature. You have no idea what you're dealing with, do you? I'm going to bring this place to ruin and destroy all who reside within.
682 said, "So, no meat then?" 682 growled and swiped at the cat with its claws.
What is the
Luckily,
story
she
about
was
the
able to
cat?
dodge. The cat tutted and padded away into the darkness, muttering, "Go bother the beast instead, jerk." This piqued SCP-682's
who's the
interest.
beast?
A beast, you say? Sounds important.
Sounds powerful.
Powerful.
Maybe.
Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle shall be legendary.
And with renewed vigor, SCP-682 began prowling the halls of the Backrooms, searching for this beast to defeat and destroy. But to begin with, things were grievously disappointing. One of the first monsters on this opulent hotel level that the hard-to-destroy reptile faced were diminutive little rodents known as death rats, which were effectively slightly larger than normal rats with little horns. SCP-682 stomped them all with ease, its thoughts dripping with disdain.
A lot of these creatures seem pretty tame compared to 682.
To be filled with rats. Even by human standards, this would be disgraceful.
Soon after, SCP-682 encountered a few familiar foes,
like
female death moths and hounds.
Right.
All as easy to kill as they were.
Some
before.
creatures inhabit multiple levels, from what I
SCP-682 didn't understand. The feline promised that there was a beast down here. Was it hiding from the mighty reptile like a filthy coward? Worthless.
Why
But it
didn't you
was
just
in the
ask the
depths
cat?
of this cynicism that SCP-682 encountered a growler. First, it heard the sound of animalistic growling projected directly into its mind, getting louder and louder by the moment.
Okay.
And as the growling grew in volume, 682 heard the thunderous footsteps of a huge quadruped getting closer.
So is
682
this the
wondered
beast?
as the roaring became almost deafening, whether this sounded heralded the approach of the beast. However, the second the monster actually turned the corner and came into view, 682 had to suppress the urge.
What the heck
to
is
laugh.
it?
It was one of the most absurd things I had ever seen. It looked like a giant pile of pipe cleaners in every color imaginable.
Wow.
Arranged into a
And it
vaguely
makes
four-legged structure.
a lot of noise?
This was the
It
monster
growls?
producing all that psychic racket. Pathetic.
Oh, it's psychic.
SCP-682 resolved in that moment to show the monster how it was done.
There's a lot of interesting creatures, though.
SCP-682 immediately evolved its own psychic emission capacitors within its brain and projected the message,
You are a worthless little creature.
directly into the simple mind of the growler.
It's always
Began
wanting to tell
quake in
everything it's
horror at the
worthless.
booming of 682's voice in its brain. What was this terrifying new creature? It didn't understand. And just like that, 682, who
So
had
still no
grown bored
beast.
of this one-sided psychic battle, turned up the strength of the psychic beam by a factor of 50. The sudden psychic
And
blast
destroyed
was
it.
so powerful that the growler collapsed to the ground and
Of
burst
course.
into flames, burning itself away into
Psychic
nothingness in a
power can be
matter of
bad, yo.
moments. Just as we
Mind over matter, so to
682
speak.
had expected. Hopefully
Mhm.
the beast would provide a greater challenge, because this was just getting sad. SCP-682 shook off the disappointment and continued running through the halls
So
of
where's
the
the
hotel.
beast?
Eventually, after passing through some dull dance hall called
Beverly
the
Room.
Beverly Room, 682 found itself running through a hallway full of long portraits. Every
Okay.
person in the portraits had a strange, twisted grin on their face.
Ugh.
Not that this even registered to SCP-682. What did occur to 682,
creepy,
though, was the
IRL,
figure that
though.
suddenly materialized in the hallway in
Oh.
front of it. It was a strange figure, to be sure, an entity in a suit with a large blue cuttlefish
like
for
a,
a head. The creature cleared its throat and began to
Mind
speak.
flayer?
Well, hello there. You're new here, aren't you? Such an interesting creature. You've been making
Mind
some
flayers are from
trouble on the
D&D.
other levels, haven't you? Not that it's any of my business. On the contrary, dear sir, I like the cut of your jib. How would you feel about joining me in the hotel business? It isn't
What?
easy to manage this dimension by myself, after all. How about you and I come into my office? We can work out the terms. 682 lunged forward and unceremoniously devoured the creature's head, allowing its dapperly dressed body to fall limply to the ground, dead. SCP-682 grunted, annoyed by the distraction.
Nothing
the creature
is
had provided. It
impervious
had better things to do.
in the
This
Backrooms.
beast has
It can
got
all
to
be
around here
killed.
somewhere.
Want to learn more about
So
the
far.
Backrooms? Check out our new sister channel, The Backrooms Explained, where we're
Check them
exploring
out.
the Backrooms level by level and uncovering all of its secrets. Now,
There's a lot of info in the Backrooms, yo. A lot. Like, just the entities they were covering, even though they were very brief, there's a ton of creatures and levels with a bunch of lore. And outside of being stalked by 682, the mixing of the universes or whatever, the universe itself is really, really cool. My nephew likes the Backrooms a lot. I've been checking some of them out. Like I've told you, I've done some shorts on them before, and I really like it. It's a cool theme, you know? So anyway, guys, I hope you like this one. Make sure to subscribe to SCP Explained. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos, and give me a like on the video. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.